first men's development excellence call, answer, podcast, whatever you wanted to say, recorded of the night. It is 9:30 in Austin, Texas. Thank you so many people, or all you people, I can't talk, for listening or being a part of this on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, wherever you're watching or listening. And of course, follow the link down below on this because that says free stuff, because that will get you squared away with all the cool stuff we do. And we do so much. In fact, this is recorded live on a call. And right now on that call, there are 9 people on it from all over the world. And it's badass. I mean, that's what we do. Get involved. Follow the free stuff link down below. That will get you a free PDF. That will show you where our free groups are. That will also show you if you want to do our paid groups where you can actually get coaching on every single thing that you can imagine is there. It's badass. But just do that. Get it over with. Stop listening to me talk about it. And let's talk about what I want to talk about here, because this is fucking important. If you're in men's development, if you're into working on yourself, there's a certain personality type that shows up over and over and over again that is destined to fail. You will never get anywhere. And I have some true horror stories of guys who have fallen into this. And it's just like, man, you don't want to get there. And I think with some guys, just psychologically, there's something missing and they need to seek some sort of outside help in order to help themselves with that. But it is the inability to admit weakness or fault, and to never analyze yourself in the first person, but either through other people or in the third person. This is something which is just so prevalent in the men's development community, because I think also men don't want to admit weakness. And so just to show you how this sort of goes is so many times, like, guys will come up to us and first off, I mean, man, there's so many examples of this and I'm kind of free flowing on it. But a lot of it starts off with a big goal. There's nothing wrong with goals. You should have goals. You should have high sights of where you want to go to kick ass. But if that goal is detached from yourself, your expression, who you are, and it's more about what other people think of you, then man, you are going to fail. You will not succeed. It will be impossible for you to push yourself to keep going, because us as human beings, our identity, and our identity means that we risked failure. We could have failed. Most likely we did fail. Or, man, we just didn't know what to do. Maybe we got embarrassed. All those things come into play, right, of what's going to get us success. When we start seeing success, and I remember a guy, he said, this is so great. He hired myself and Chris Pacheco. She's an awesome chick. Great person to follow. If you ever want to see somebody who gets really into political stuff and is a great writer, actually, and she has her own podcast. She's got some cool stuff. But this was in like 2009. And this guy hired us. And he said, I want to be a part of the social elite. I want to be a part of all the boat parties in Austin. I want people to finally see me who as I deserve to be, and blah, 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 blah. And he goes on. And Chris and I were just like, whoa. Did you not hear? This is always great when people come to me with this, because even in 2009, I was not that guy. I would say, no, man, you could be yourself. You could be a failure. You could do things that were wrong or bad and state them. And I want you to. And in fact, that same year, somebody else hired me and they said a very similar thing. They said, no, man, I want to have command over women. I want to date the hottest women. I only want to date 10s. And all guys want this. And that's great. And you should. And I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm saying that is bad when it's the only thing there. And so that sign of just this goal that is for somebody else, man, whenever I see that, I always want to check the person. I go, hey, I get it. Maybe if you got a divorce, or maybe if you just went through the ringer in something, I understand it. Or maybe you bought into the marketing of the PUA world, or whatever it is, that you're saying these things. Okay. And I get it. It's misleading and it's wrong. And, those aren't the reality of how it's going to end up. But if you still want that superlative, like larger than life, I'm better than you, and somehow that's going to make me great sort of lifestyle after we've kind of decompressed you for a second, then it's like, oh shit, oh my God. Because that falls into that same personality type that won't show weakness, that has to always be right. And whenever there's a flaw in them, if I say like, hey man, when you're actually talking to this person and you, man, I don't know, whatever, they did something wrong. You're talking to this person and you avoid talking about yourself, and you're obviously thinking about something else. They pick up on that and they don't like it. this is the kind of answer I get back. Is, oh yeah, of course, of course. No. I was doing that, just to see how it was going, because I know that when you show something, when people misread you, they don't get it. No, oh, totally. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Other people do that. Other people do that too. And they never admit responsibility for it. Let me just tell you a story I'll tell you the two stories. So one guy who hired me that year, Chris and I, and was a part of the social elite and all this sort of stuff and whatever. And he talked about how great he was, and he talked about how great his military background was, and it was the best, and that he only got tens in his life, and now he just wants to take it to the next level, and we're going to help him there. In fact, he's pretty much the same as me. Is that's what he was saying. I'm like the same as you, Steve, but I just want to get it, man. I just want to get it there. So okay, all right. I mean, because I never am like bragging about myself in those ways, but he somehow is not. I'm like, you're the same as me. Then yeah, you're just normal. Well, that's, I guess. Anyway, so he goes on and on to this. I said, all right, man, if we're going to work together, you got to do the identity workbook. So this was still in 2009. We had the identity workbook, and he does it, and we actually go over it. And again, it's this front. It's not him. It's not any of the things that the identity workbook is actually going for to really talk about. It's what it's supposed to be that's cool, man. It's the social elite. It's the best. It's that I'm going to shine and I'm going to get it. And I remember he ran through so many problems. And at some point, Chris and I really dug deep into what his life was like. And he went through a couple relationships. And this actually happened like a year later. He went through a couple relationships and he called me up. He's all upset. He goes, man, Steve, I don't know who else to talk to. Man, can you come pick me up? Like, everything's going wrong and blah, 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 blah. And this is actually a crazy situation. He asked another guy in the group, and this is some of the stuff that you hear from people, again, who are hiding something. It's like this. Who can't be themselves, who are so, like, enamored in their bullshit. But he asked another guy in the group, a guy that was very shy, he said, hey, man, I want you to come over. I'm back with my ex-wife. So already it's kind of crazy. So it's like, anyway, I'm back with my ex-wife and I want you to come over and I want you to fuck her in front of me and I want to watch. And the dude who was like all shy was like, dude, why are you asking me? Like, no, I don't want to do that. No. I want you to fuck her because, he was of a certain ethnicity, and he's like, I want like an animal. Like, he said something really racist to him. And the guy was like, dude, man, no, I like you, but I don't really know what you're asking, but okay. And he told me about it. I was like, fucking weird. So this guy calls me, he's all upset. And he's like, dude, I got back together with my wife. Everything's fucked up. And he fucking lost it on me. He lost it, man. And not to share too much of his business, and you don't really know who I'm talking about, but man, what pain does to somebody. And all I'm asking from people is to be social and be honest. If you're going to work on yourself, you got to be honest. If you're going to be talking to people, you got to be honest. If you're going to be sexually active, you got to be honest, at least with yourself. All right. And I demand that of people that I work with. And if you can't do that, man, it's amazing how much this shit spins off. But this motherfucker, he calls me all upset. He breaks down and he says, look, dude, my wife and I, this is how I got started in all of this. Like 5 years ago, before I hired you, we had a baby and the baby passed away. And, we went through this grief counseling. It was all fucked up. And then, she fucked somebody else and then she fucking did this and blah, 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 blah. And I was like always trying to be the best person I could, but I couldn't do it. And I tried, and all this shit comes out, man. All this shit comes out, and he's crying, he's in pain, and he's panicked and he's hurt. All because he wouldn't feel that little bit of panic in reality when it was happening. And we all understand what's that. I'm compassionate about this. All right. I have no respect for you lying to me when I know you're lying to me, but I have compassion for it when I hear what's going on. I talked to him about it. I was like, man, you need therapy. You don't need me. We can talk about whatever, but it sounds like you need something very like specific, and you really need to like focus on that first before any of all this stuff. All this like, I want to be the best, or I want to get the grand prize or get the recognition. Dude, that's all a bunch of bullshit that's going to keep you, man, it's just going to hold you back. I'll tell you another story of a guy that really the one person where I really pinpointed this out. It's like, man, does not admit weakness, will not admit fault. And whenever you give him any sort of criticism, he already knows it and then voices it back to you about how he actually knows it better than you or some shit like that. And again, I'm not a guy that asks for that, right? I'm not a guy that asks for all this adoration and respect and attention. So there's this guy, and he hired me around the same time. It was interesting. He actually turned me on to a couple of good clients, but he was kind of this younger man, and he didn't have a lot of experience with women. But what he wanted to know always was how to straight up manipulate and control women. Now, I have no problem talking to people about that if they can come back to earth a little bit. Okay, it's like, you want to know some dark side stuff? We can talk about some dark side stuff, because really nothing is dark or light or whatever. They all mix in there, right? The more you make it that, the more it becomes that. But he was like, no, I want to know the evil stuff. I want it to be bad. I want it to be that, like, I want to fucking control. I don't want to get rejected ever. And yet, at the same time, didn't have a lot of experience with women. He was steadfast on it. Yet he could do it and would do it. And yet, the only relationships that he had usually didn't go to sex, but they got to this validation point. And the interesting thing is that when he was like 23 or 24 or whatever, and he started to actually have sex, it threw him a curveball. As soon as he got a girlfriend, it turned into all this posturing, all this who he was, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden, I shit you not, on a Wednesday night call, I forget the year. It may have been 2013, may have been 2014. No. I was in this room, so I've lived in this house 2.5 years. So sometime in the last 2.5 years, more like 2.5 years ago, I get this call from another friend of mine who's disabled. Awesome dude. Amazing dude. If you ever come to Austin, you should meet him. In fact, once again, even tonight, he said, hey, man, I'm going to call you. I said, dude, I got the Wednesday night call. You remember the Wednesday night call? Because Wednesday night call 2 years and some change ago, he called me up, and I actually said, I'm going to take this call, because I was actually talking about him while being on the call. I was talking to anyway, whatever. Long story. So I take the call, and he goes, dude, I just got the shit kicked out of me. You know that guy I was telling you about? He broke into my house when I was fucking his chick, and he beat my ass, and my roommates came in, and I'm calling the cops. And I was like, whoa, dude. What the fuck? I was like, first off, you, in a way, nobody deserves to get their ass kicked, but dude, you pushed that boundary big time. You pushed that boundary big time. You were a fucking asshole. You knew you could dig in on this guy, and you did it. In any case, and so what happened? He's like, well, the cops are coming. I'm going to press charges. I was like, sure, you want to press charges? You've been through the court system, man, because he has. And he's like, nope, I want to, because the other option is that I'm going to get my friends to fucking beat his ass. All right, my friend's disabled. He can't really walk too well or whatever. So anyway, long story short, they go through this court proceeding or whatever. And somehow, I didn't ask much about it. I just said like, hey, man, I guess you're doing your thing, or you're taking it through the court proceeding, and you're throwing this guy under the bus. Somehow, I find out the guy's name who he's pressing charges against. And guess who it is? It's my old client, the one who wanted to manipulate and trick people and fucking just whatever, but not to have sex with them, but to get validation. And then when he did start to have sex with them, he got like way too attached. So here's the funny thing. This guy who's Mr. I control women and get everything I want, finally when he has sex with a girl who, probably has sex in ways that he's not used to, is like, and man, I hate to say it, actually, I saw the text messages because my friend showed me, because he was in this criminal case, and that's actually how I found out the guy's name. I didn't even know. And he was antagonizing him and doing all the things which, kind of leads to an ass kicking. But it's like, hey, I'm fucking your chick right now, pussy, or whatever. And the guy's like, I'm going to, but he stayed with the girl. He stayed with the girl. He stayed with her because he wasn't used to that, because it was never him. It was always a front of who he was. But when she made his dick come, or when she stuck her finger up his ass, or whatever she did to fucking trip him, he was like, holy shit, my mind is blown. Oh my God, the real me finally comes out, and I can't handle it. I can't fucking handle it. So when this girl disrespects him and starts fucking other people willfully, and she was, man, it was fucking crazy. It was amazing. Like, it's like what fucking fucked up chicks do and how they live, and you're letting her do it. You're holding her hand through it. So she's fucking your friend. She's fucking some guy you don't like. She's fucking some dude who's disabled, who's sending you pictures of him fucking her, and you get pissed off. You break into his house. You say over your text message that you're going to break into his house and beat his ass. Then you do it, and then you get a bunch of felony charges on you. Anyway, it's a bummer thing. The long story short is he just got off. They all got off with some good stuff. Nothing too bad happened. But man, you don't want to be a bitch. You don't want to be a guy that is unwilling to be who you are, because then when life challenges you, and life puts itself in front of you with something that demands who you are, you're not going to be able to handle it. Man, it's not so bad losing. It's not so bad getting fucked. It's not so bad not knowing what to do, and maybe not knowing what to do for 6 months. It's not so bad being all alone in a room for a little bit. You never want to trade your peace of mind, your spirit, your morality, your honesty, your ability, your depth, your emotion, your expression for something that just feels good now, that numbs that. Man, those things are cherished. They're beautiful within you. When you don't have your expression, you're nothing. When you don't have your choice, you're nothing. And I see so many people pass that up just because what we want to go for in society or whatever is supposed to heal our shit. Don't be afraid to admit weakness, fault. And don't be afraid to just be yourself. Very important thing. Anyway, if you like this sort of stuff, you want to talk about it, that's what we're doing right now. That's what we're doing on our Wednesday night call. It's badass. We got a Facebook live stream, and we also, of course, do this on our private call, our go-to meeting host, which is pretty badass. Got 12 people on here, and it's almost 10 p.m. on a Wednesday night in Austin, Texas. We got guys from all around the world. We'll probably have 30 or 40 coming through the call as the night goes on, about 5 hours. If you want to be a part of that, follow the free stuff link down below. Get involved in our free community, Austin Men's Development. Download our free PDFs. And if you want to step it up and have programs where we actually do this call live, interact with you, and so on, man, fucking do it. MD Excellence all the way, $50 a month. You got that. You got that. It's a great way to spend your money, spend your life, and just grow as a human being and be a part of a very, very badass men's group. In any case, I'm out.